Hello, my name is Joshua Mugabi. I welcome you to Support and Movement, Essay Questions and Answers. This is Support and Movement Part 3. The answers will be discussed. Please visit my YouTube channel, Mugabi Joshua, and please don't forget to subscribe. These essay questions are similar to the ones set by UNEB, KCSE, GCSE, and IGCSE examination boards. You will have enough time to recall the correct answer. But don't worry, we shall get the correct answer through discussions. I wish you the best of luck. Please don't forget to visit my YouTube channel, Mugabi Joshua, and please press that subscription button. Let us begin our essay questions. Question 11. Name the Part A, Part 1, material used to strengthen the xylem tissue. They want us to name the material used to strengthen the xylem tissue. That material is referred to as lignin. It's the one that is impregnated into the tracheids and vessels, and it gives them the strength. Then we go to Part A, Part 2. Part 2 is asking that name the tissue that is removed when the back of a dicotyledonous plant is ringed. They want us to name the tissue that is removed when the back of a dicotyledonous plant is ringed. Now, when you look at our structure there, from the epidermis, when you are ringing, you remove the epidermis, collenchyma, parenchyma, endodermis, pericycle, and the tissue which forms there is the phloem before you go to the cambium. So the phloem is the tissue which is going to be removed. Then we go to Part B. Part B says, state the areas of the plant where translocated materials are taken. B wants us to state the areas of a plant where translocated materials are located. Now, the translocated material are located in the growing areas of roots, stems, shoots, meristems, and then they are also located or taken to the storage organs like the fruits, seeds, stems, roots, and leaves. Those are the areas of the plant where translocated materials are taken. Question 12. Give 4 importances of mammalian skeleton. Give 4 importance of mammalian skeleton. So we want to give the importance of the mammalian skeleton. 1. The mammalian skeleton maintains shape of the body. It's the mammalian skeleton that gives the body the shape it has. And secondly, the mammalian skeleton protects delicate organs of the body, like the heart and the brain. You look at the heart is protected by the ribs, and then the brain is protected by the skull. Still, the mammalian skeleton, it provides a surface for attachment of muscles. If you look at the skeleton, all those bones, they are for attachment of muscles. Then the mammalian skeleton secretes the red blood cells in the bone marrows of the bones. That's where the red blood cells are secreted. Those are the four importance of mammalian skeleton. Question 13. The diagram represents the anterior view of a rib. Name the part labeled X. So we have our diagram there, which is a rib. They want us to name the part labeled X. And that part labeled X, we call it capitulum. We call it capitulum, or sometimes it is called head. It is part of the rib which articulates with the vertebra of the skeleton. So that is the rib, and X is the capitulum, or sometimes we call it the head. Question 14, part A. It tells us to name the bone. When you look at that bone is the scapula. If you look at its structure, it is the scapula. Now when we go to part B requires us to name the part 1, bones which articulate with the bone named in A above at the cavity labeled K. Part 1 wants us to name the bone which articulates with the bone named in A above, which is the scapula, at the cavity labeled K. That bone is the humerus. Humerus is the bone that articulates with the scapula at that cavity which was labeled K. Then part 2. Part 2 says joints formed by two bones at K. They want us to name the joint formed by the two bones at K. The joint formed by the two bones at K. That joint is the ball and socket joint. K forms a joint which we call ball and socket joint. Then part C, it requires us to state the functions of the part labeled J. State the functions of the part labeled J. When you look at that part is for attachment of muscles. It is for attachment of muscles. Question 15. The diagram represents a mammalian bone. Part A. Identify the bone. Part A requires us to identify the bone. When you look at that bone is a femur bone. Then part B. Name the Roman 1 bone it articulates with at point A. Name the bone it articulates with at point A. Now when you look At point A, our femur articulates with the pelvic girdle. It articulates with the pelvic girdle. Then Roman number 2. Name the type of joint that forms at point B in articulation with other bones. They want us to name the type of joint that forms at point B in articulation with other bones. Now, when you look at that point there, the joint which is formed at that point B in articulation with other bones is a hinge joint. Question 16. The diagram represents a bone from a mammal. Part A. Identify the bone. Part A requires us to identify the bone. When you look at that bone, it has a long neurospine, long transverse process, and a large centrum. That bone is a thoracic vertebra. Part B. Part B says, name the structures labeled X and Y. Name the structures labeled X and Y. Now, the structure labeled X is the neurospine. It is the neurospine. And the structure labeled Y is a centrum. It is a centrum. Part C. Name the bone that articulate with structure labeled Z. Name the bone that articulate with structure labeled Z. Now, when you look at Z, Z is a transverse process. So the structure which articulates with Z is a rib bone. It's a rib bone. Thank you for participating in Support and Movement Essay Questions and Answers. This has been Support and Movement Part 3. Please go to Part 4. The answers will be discussed. Do not forget to visit my YouTube channel, Mugabi Joshua, and please press that subscription button. Let's meet in Part 4.